Has it ever happened to you that you try to start a new routine? It lasts 3 days and you end up feeling terrible about yourself because you have no willpower. It's happened to me my whole life. But what if the problem isn't you, but the method? Today, we're going to talk about creating habits from a much kinder, cyclical, and, above all, realistic place. Hi, I'm Nessa. After a year and a half of building the solid pillars of my self-love, I'm literally building a new life. That's where this series about reinventing yourself comes from, where I share everything I've been learning from books or social media, putting it into practice and showing you what I discover along the way. After figuring out who you are and who that future version of you is, it's time to create the routines that version of you already has integrated, but that you still need to build. Yes, we're going to talk about creating habits, but no, probably not in the way you expect. I don't know about you, but I am tired of that extremely stressful wave of productivity and habits that will lead you to success. We've talked about this before. Gurus telling you that champions wake up at 5 a.m. every day, go to the gym, take cold showers, time all their tasks, and, God forbid, you decide to watch a Netflix series, because then you are a loser. I've fallen into those traps many times. I've tried going hard to the gym 3 days a week and eating lettuce every day to look better. I've tried timing how long it takes me to write a script, forcing myself to get dressed at 7 a.m. to feel more like a boss, and cutting out sugar, coffee, and gluten while reprogramming my mind all at the same time. Obviously, none of it worked. Maybe for some people all of that is effective, but for many others like me, these aggressive methods don't work. Quite the opposite. They drain us, we fail quickly, we feel depressed, and we start thinking we'll never achieve anything if we can't even master one single new habit. I believe there's a more natural rhythm to life, slower and kinder. And today, I'm sharing these 4 pillars for creating new habits, the ones that have worked for me and that I still apply today. I've understood that it's essential for any new routine you want to build to have a deep meaning for your soul. A solid what for and why that goes beyond surface level reasons. For example, for many years, I wanted to exercise to look attractive, to please myself and, mostly, others. You know, to look good in a bikini at the beach. But from that place, exercise felt like an obligation. I'd go, I'd do it, I'd fail often, and I'd feel bad about my inconsistency. Recently, though, I found that connection that has allowed me to stay consistent, and that has turned exercise into a need rather than just a habit. Those of you who've been here for a while can probably guess I'm talking about the battle to tame my dragons. I found in physical intensity not only a way to quiet my mind and relieve anxiety, but also a portal, a silence that allows ideas to come through, a way to open the channel of my intuition. For the way I am wired, movement is born from the need to regulate my mental state. Everything else is just a side effect. Maybe you want to read more because it's a way to transport yourself to different worlds and relax. Or perhaps you want to start singing because it reconnects you with your inner child, the one who fuels your creativity. Do you already know the deeper meaning behind the new habit you want to build? This has been one of my biggest discoveries this past year. When I was in Bali, I learned that in Bahasa Indonesia, the word for month is Bulan. And that same word also means moon. In the past, months were measured through the 28-day lunar cycles, until humans established the 30-31-day months we follow today. The modern world is built on linear rhythms, solar 24-hour cycles known as men's circadian rhythms. Men experience peaks of testosterone in the morning, function steadily throughout the day, and reset at night, and they repeat that pattern throughout the entire month. So, for a man, it can make sense to set strict schedules that don't change much over time. But for women, not so much. We are cyclical. Our rhythm, called the infradian rhythm, is roughly a 28-day cycle ruled by the moon. Our hormones influence our mood, our physical energy, and our mental clarity. I've understood that, as a woman, it doesn't really make sense to set purely linear habits, because there will most likely be that week in our cycle when everything falls apart, and we end up beating ourselves up, thinking we've failed again. And that doesn't mean we're inconsistent. All of us adapt incredibly well to masculine biorhythms, despite the contradiction with our own. And we do it beautifully. That shows an inner strength the world should start appreciating much more. I know that in everyday life this is hard to apply, especially in corporate jobs. But it is possible to keep it in mind when creating new habits for your personal life. If you're interested in this topic, I've left a free PDF below where I briefly explain what each lunar phase is good for. I've started applying it myself. Let me know what you think and if this was helpful. Another way I've found to establish a new habit is to make it pleasurable. Our brains aren't designed to do things because they're good for us, but to repeat what gives us immediate reward. That's why when we act purely out of obligation, which requires willpower, it's much easier to abandon it when life gets hard. However, it's been discovered that the body releases dopamine even before the pleasurable moment actually happens. So, if a habit is linked to something enjoyable, it gets stored much faster in the part of the brain that manages automatic behaviors. Let me give you an example. I spent years not eating vegetables. At home, vegetables were boring and tasteless, and I associated them with boredom and dieting. Then, the first season of MasterChef came out, and I became obsessed. Thanks to that show, I started playing with spices, contrast, and using cooking as another creative outlet. Today, I make incredibly flavorful and healthy vegetable dishes that I genuinely enjoy. I can almost savor them just thinking about it. Is there a habit you've spiced up by adding pleasure to it? This is a point that I personally still struggle with, because I'm extremely demanding with myself. We're all unique. We have our own rhythms, knowledge, patterns. That's why we can't compare our processes to anyone else's. Depending on where you look, the time it supposedly takes to build a habit changes. And that alone shows that it doesn't depend on a specific number of days, but on our own personality and consistency. Let's stop being so rigid about what we should be doing and start being more human, more adaptable to what we actually need. Let's be flexible with results, because they will always be influenced by our energy and life circumstances. Let's accept that we might need to modify the terms of a new habit, test it, make it easier, shape it over time through practice. It's the only way to add pleasure to it, to create alternatives for when things don't go as planned, and above all, to have inner peace regardless of external results. Another important thing, don't try to build 6 new habits at once, maximum 1 or 2, and make sure one of them is easy. For example, if you want to take magnesium daily, put the bottle somewhere visible in your kitchen and set an alarm on your phone. That's an easy habit to remember. Then you can add another one, like gradually eliminating gluten by learning how to make rice flour pancakes. If there's one thing I've learned in this Phoenix Reverse journey about habits, it's that it's not about collecting productivity medals. It's about designing a life where you feel good, a life you actually love, a kind of life with less self-pressure, where bad days don't subtract, they simply recalibrate. Choose one habit, add your own spices, create your own rhythm, and allow yourself to fluctuate like the moon. Tell me if any of this resonated with you, or inspired you to build a new habit from a different perspective. I'll see you next week. Take care. Goodbye.